Okay, so I'm quite sleepy today. Not really looking to do much because this guy kept me up last night. But as a little pick-me-up, I'm thinking we should go pick some oranges. 3 years ago, is it almost 3 years ago? When probably already 3 years ago. Oh my god, time flies. So, in one of our very first videos, you saw us plant some blood oranges that Martin bought in a state of enthusiasm. And it has 3 oranges this year, so I think as a little pick-me-up, we're gonna pick one of them and see if they're actually good. The tree is not very big. I hope it gets bigger. We'll feed it in spring again. Thinking this might be the one. This is hard to do with one hand. Nope. Alright, now let's get to the kitchen and see if it's actually red inside, because that's the best part. Bo also loves oranges. Iets spannend, Bo. So from what I've read, blood oranges, they get the red inside if you have frost. So that's why they don't grow in many places. We did have frost. A little bit. Tiny bit. Ja, jij krijgt ook een stukje. For a tasting. It's a nice orange, quite sweet. But it doesn't really have that, I don't know, it's hard to describe, that very particular, kind of a little bit, but not that very particular blood orange flavor. They're kind of hard to find here, but I think they mostly grow in Italy. So they have to be imported, and Portugal already grows so much citrus themselves that it's kind of weird to import citrus. Lekker, hè? Yes, he is all grubby. I think one of the problems might be water, because we haven't really watered it over the winter, and it has been really dry. I mean, still a good orange. And it's one of the very first fruit. It's one of the first fruits that we planted here and that we now get to harvest. So that's nice. Is this the part where I tell you that I have a seed hoarding problem? So we have lots of seeds. I have kind of sorted them for the seasons, but we also have some new ones. Oh, I'm forgetting a box. There's another box. So zit je vast? Oh nee! So I'm thinking I should use this afternoon to kind of see what we have, if I want to buy anything extra, and make a plan for what we're going to plant this summer. Ah! It's already time to start seeding again for summer. In February and March, it's a good idea to start your tomatoes and your eggplant and your peppers. So that's what I'm gonna do today, as well as start some pots with just herbs like thyme and lemongrass, so that we can also have that this summer. Feels really early to already do this, but it needs to be done now, and then we need to start working on the garden. So I'm trying to keep it kind of small this year, so I do want to do some different varieties just for trying still, and we like variety, but I don't want to do massive amounts of plants because our plants are not really preserved much this year. Maybe we have a little bit of excess, but in general I don't want to be working to preserve the whole summer. that better? Oh, that's not better. Okay, so yesterday I seeded the eggplants, tomatoes, some of the tomatoes, and some peppers. I still need to get some seeds for some cherry tomatoes, because I want to have cherry tomatoes. And then, but then I also realized, oops, I forgot all the flowers. So this year I want to do lots of interplanting with flowers, a little bit more planned than just like popping in a few self-seeding and spreading them around. I have lots of flower seeds, a lot. Some of you guys sent us some, so that was really nice. So now I have to start a whole new tray, but now just for flowers. So the plan is, and we'll see how that will happen, but I want to make the greenhouse into an actual growing space instead of just starting seeds and chucking random things in place. So that's gonna be a lot of work. One of the chickens is scratching here now, and I think I'll just let her do her thing because that's usually good. So I'm not gonna repair this not level table anymore. This one is gonna go. We're gonna take it apart, but that's gonna be a whole separate video and a long-term project. These are the flowers that I'm gonna seed now. So we have cosmos, calendula, some worzinnias, and echinacea. According to the pack, I can just direct seed them. So we'll see how many seeds are in here and if I want to do that or start in the tray anyway. And then I also have some of these, and I think I'll plant these. Yeah, momentje. I'll plant these in the perennial bed that we made. I only have a few left. Never had much luck with them, but it never hurts to try again. So yeah, just gonna make some new labels, plant these, and then get into the garden. Upside down. So I'm doing the echinacea now. It's not that many seeds, so I think I'll do 2 rows, which should be about half, hopefully, of the seeds. And then if they don't germinate well, I still have, just going off the packet here, until May to directly sow them in the garden. And since I've only been gardening for a few years now. Got distracted. Anyway, point being, I like showing the experimentation. That's how I learn. That's what I like to see in other channels as well. I have a very hard time listening to people who pretend they know the one and only way. There's always many ways to do things. Nee, Bo! Niet aan de camera. Kijk, wil je even met je... Okay, this baby's getting very grumpy. I think we're ready for lunch. For now, I'm just gonna plant those Mexican sunflowers. I'll plant them in between the raspberries. I think that will look nice. Yeah, and then we can go have some lunch. Hey, Bo. Bo heeft honger. Mama heeft ook honger. In today's video, I also shortly want to discuss the plan for this summer, because it's a little bit different than last year when I just tried to grow as much as possible. This year I want to focus more on calorie crops, and I think that's important, and that's a very important part of self-sufficiency, if you want to talk about it that way. But as gardening is part of our keeping our grocery budget in check, I think calorie crops will be much more helpful than vegetables, which are not that expensive especially in the summer. So I'm thinking we should focus on things that we definitely eat and can eat and like to eat. With rising food prices, I'm hoping we can keep the food budget at least at the same level. Especially considering that we added another eater to the mix this year. I already briefly mentioned this, but I want to focus more on foods that can store easily, so that I don't have to spend as much time preserving food like tomatoes and peppers and whatever. Stuff that needs a lot of work. So I'm thinking stuff that either can just cure in place, like pumpkins and things like some beans, and then over winter we can add to those things with greens that do grow over the winter. Root crops are something that is typically grown for this purpose, but they're kind of hard to do in our clay soil, so I'll keep trying, but I'm not putting my hopes onto them. What I'm really trying to do is, as I said, pumpkins, because they should grow fairly well here, especially if I plant them on time, and they can last the whole winter if you cure them properly and they're not damaged in any way. So I'm gonna try pumpkins again. I haven't had much luck with them, but I have found a new technique that should hopefully help with that. And then next to that I want to do beans and grains and potatoes. So let me show you where I want those. It's not super clear at the moment, but these were the beds where we had the tomatoes and the peppers last year, and they're really long beds with kind of still the trenches. We need to do some weeding and some mulching and things, but that's all for the next few months. But this is a lot of growing space, so what I'm gonna do is basically cut them in about half. Over there we have the beds that are now growing the fabas and the peas and some winter greens. They'll come out soonish, and then over the summer we can plant the tomatoes and things like that there. So we're gonna use those more over the summer. We're gonna cut these long beds in half. So this area should give the pumpkins ample space to go wherever they want and hopefully produce lots of fruits. And then over here we can do more of the tomatoes and whatever else I want to seed this year. We still have some leeks here going. Yeah, winter gardening was not going great. My turnips are already bolting, which is also not great. It's been a very weird growing season. In our new perennial garden, we're obviously trying to grow all the new berries that we planted, and in between them, because I don't think they'll get super big this year, I will plant some of the flowers that I seeded into trays this week, and so it should be a very lovely area. Planting flowers in your garden can be very beneficial to not just the beauty, but also in attracting pollinators. And when I'm saying pollinators, I'm thinking about all sorts of insects, not just the honeybee, even though we do love the honeybee, of course. You're also trying to attract native bees, which are usually solitary bees, as well as all sorts of wasps, because not all vegetables are pollinated by honeybees. Or can be pollinated. The bees are just not interested in them. So you're really trying to attract a large array of different insects that can either also serve as predators towards aphids and stuff like that, as well as for the pollination. And finally, you might remember that last fall I seeded some areas with clover in order to do some nitrogen fixing. The clover has come up very well. The clover has come up really well, so I'm really happy with that. And so in a few months we'll till that into the soil, and in those patches I want to grow more grains. So the two grains that I want to do this year are amaranth and sorghum. I already did sorghum last year. I was very impressed with it. So we saved most of it, and this year we're gonna do a whole block with it. And then amaranth as well should do really well in our dry climate. And this is all part of the quest to kind of see what grows well here for us with our very dry, very hot climate over the summer, and kind of adapting those seeds to our particular area. But that's for summer. In the spring, I'm also gonna try to grow some more potatoes there. The potatoes that died back over the winter, they should come up in spring again. And if not, I have some sprouted potatoes that I can just pop in there and hopefully grow lots of potatoes this year if it doesn't rain and they don't get drowned. So those are a few of the things that we want to grow in order to really up our calorie growing mission. If you have any suggestions for things that we should try to grow here, do leave it in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Ga je zwaaien? Doei!